Welcome back to Trigger Point Tuesdays, everybody. I'm Kyle. Cassidy's out, so I have the whole show to myself. We're here with Steve. He's one of our new guys, and we're going to be talking about hip mobility. Now, we talked about hip mobility last week, but it dealt more with foot and ankle mobility and how it relates to the hip. We're an interconnected unit, so if the ankle doesn't work the right way, the hip normally doesn't work the right way, and then the knee in the middle typically pays the price. So one of the things with our athletes, whether it's a CrossFit athlete, a triathlete, or what I like to call a desk jockey, somebody that just sits at the desk all day, those hips will start to adapt and start to lose mobility. So if you're sitting in a hip flexed position, that connective tissue literally starts to stick and grow. This has a lot to do with hydration. Whenever we're dehydrated, the connective tissue, those collagen fibers, become much more sticky. They're actually 98% water, so you start to take that water out. What's it going to do? It just sticks. We need to prevent that. In addition, if we think about the hips being locked down, so we're here in this position, we lock down the hip flexors, lock down the psoas, then all of a sudden we compromise the diaphragm. And like Cassidy always says, if we can't breathe, we can't perform, nor can we recover. So we have to be sure and get that mobility back. So let's start him off with some movement. Now the first thing I want him to do, face the camera, reach above his head. Automatically we see restriction up here. Now there could be something going on in the shoulder complex, absolutely, but it also could just be a compensation coming from hip mobility there. Alright, so hands are up. Now with the squatting, sort of a gateway movement, it leads us to a lot of other functional movement patterns through daily life and exercise, so that's why we like to use it. So as soon as you're ready, let's go ahead and drop into some squats. Perfect. The first thing I notice here is a little bit of a wobble out of this right knee. Keep on going. Second thing that starts to jump out to me is right towards the end. Let's do two more here. Coming down, notice that shift to the left with his hips. One more. Perfect. Relax just for a second. The body always moves away from pain or it moves away from restriction. So if that right hip is bound up, it's going to set into that left hip just a little bit more, and that's where you'll get an asymmetrical shift. Any kind of asymmetries can be detrimental to your performance. Let's do a 90-degree turn. We'll do a profile view. Hands back up overhead again. Come back down, and let's watch this articulation here of the hip and knee. Perfect. Back up. Let's do another one. Come down. Let's hang out right here just a bit. So this is what we're looking at, this angle right here with the hip. It's not a bad squat. A little bit of an arch in the back, so maybe some compromised motion there. Let's come back up. One more down nice and controlled. And back up. Go ahead and relax. Perfect. One of the things that we see in hips is as we go into hip flexion, that femur has to internally rotate. It's something that we call obligatory joint response. As that pelvis comes into this position, femur turns in. If it doesn't, hip shift or something starts to get compromised. The areas we're going to go after today is the adductor and hamstring. They kind of tie in together. It's our adductor magnus and come up to that hip complex. And then also, we're going to the other side of the joint. So something we've termed myofascial opposition. We have to go after both sides. So our second one's going to be the TFL here in the front. You ready? All right, perfect. So for this first one, we're doing our angled quad baller. We're coming here to the inside. So we're going to set that there. Go ahead and flip that over. One more time. Perfect. And we're going to slide this right in there. Notice that it's at an angle. It's going to allow us to get some shear force in there. We're going up to zones 3 and 4, so notice we're a little bit higher there. All right, so the first thing we're going to do, heels planted, raise the hips just a touch. We're going to do 4 rolling back and forth. So we're going to dorsiflex as you push back, plantar flex as you pull forward. As we're moving along the lines of those muscle fibers like that, that's helping to promote that blood flow. We're going 4 times, one more by my count. Perfect. Our next motion is going to be your match. So let's take your left hand. You're going to press down into it. Notice the hips are still up. We're getting this compression, and this is going to be a side-to-side motion 4 times. Now this is that shear force down the quad baller. There's 3. That's going to create that mobility there in those fascial planes. And now here, I want you to keep the hand, and we're going into a circular scrubbing motion. So for this, we're going to get some dorsiflexion here. There we go. And then back and forth. Notice the circular motion. Think of scrubbing bugs off the windshield, as Cassidy always likes to say. We're doing 4 times in each direction. And again, that's reintroducing all that motion of the connective tissue in all different planes of motion. Perfect. Now we're going to go ahead and flip over to the other side. We're just going to do one area. So we're getting TFL on the right side. Whenever he comes into position here, notice we're getting for that pocket muscle. Perfect. Perfect form. He's down on his right forearm. Go ahead and come up onto your right hand. I like that angle here for the zone 2 that we're going after. We're going to put us a 90-degree bend here. Perfect. That puts tension on the quads, but it actually relaxes that TFL just a bit. Now from here, we're doing 4 rolls back and forth. So again, there we go. 1, rolling through that motion. Be sure you're breathing. There's 2. Again, along the lines of the muscle fiber. 3. 1 more. 4. Perfect. Now we're going to bend the knee again here. Keep the knee on the ground. Now we're going to reintroduce internal rotation. Remember I was talking about lacking it earlier? So from here, slowly let this foot come out. We're pinning the tissues down there, and then we're asking that femur to internally rotate. There's 2. We have 2 more here. 3. Perfect. Last one. Awesome. Now we're going to extend the knee, plant the toes, and now we're going to go into that scrubbing motion. So the same thing. Use the foot to build some traction. Circular motion there with the quads. The TFL. There we go. So that's going to help to free up TFL, free up that IT band 4 times in each direction. Now with IT band issues, what we want is mobility, and that's what we're doing, is reintroducing that mobility. Perfect. All right, go ahead and hop up. And let's go right back into that squat. So let's take the hands back up overhead. Automatically gets the hands up better. This right one's even back a little bit further. We'll look at that in a moment. So as soon as you're ready, let's go through 5 of those squats. Notice ankle, knee, and hip alignment. Look at this integrity of that right knee. Not hardly any wobble back and forth. And let's look at position of the hips, straight up and down. So we've gotten rid of that asymmetrical hip shift there to the left, which is great. Let's do a 90-degree turn. Reach up nice and high. Perfect. Notice that shoulder mobility. As soon as you're ready, go ahead and drop down into that squat. Let's hold it down just a bit right there. Look at that alignment. Perfect. Nice stability. Look at the position of the core. Come back up. Let's do 1 more. Very good. How's it feel?
Good.
Good. So what we do, we go in there after those 2 areas. Remember, we went after hamstring, a little bit of adductor magnus, and then the TFL. Reintroduce that mobility. Allow that hip joint to articulate the way it was originally designed, and you just free up the motion, get more natural range of motion back, and overall you're going to have better movement. Now keep in mind, this is movement preparation. So I want you to do this before you work out. Before you go into your dynamic warm-up with load, first of all, prepare the tissue with outlet. Be sure you're hydrated, be sure you can breathe, and have fun with it. Feeling good?
Yeah.
All right, perfect. So thank you guys again for joining us. Remember, prepare the body to move. That's the most important thing. But we'll see you next week with Trigger Point Tuesdays.